Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
Ino. So tell me Jiraiya, demanded Tsunade, narrowing her eyes. Alright, the reason I hadn't sent you a toad was because one on my spies had informed me of the identity of two members of the Akatsuki. They are Kakuzu from Takigakure and Hidan from Yugakure. From my informant I've found it somehow Kakuzu been around since the time of the Shadaime Hokage Hashirama Senju. I'm not sure how, but I'm positive it be some kind of jutsu, and as for Hidan, all I really know is he is part of some cult that worships Jashin, said Jiraiya. He also needed to tell her about the lab used by Orochimaru during his time in Danzo's Anbu root faction. She understood the look on his eyes that told her he would tell her the rest another time. She understood this. She then smiles at Naruto with pride. Well, you definitely look much stronger, brat. Before I decide to give you the rank of Juninai, and I mean to say those old fossils want to know if you really deserve to gain the rank of Junin, said Tsunade. Those fools Danzo, Homura, and Koharu wanted Naruto to stay a genin and be protected inside the walls of Konohagakure, but she viciously disagreed with that idea and shut it down with a quickness. I have someone who would be the perfect person to rescue in Sakura, said Tsunade with a smile. Sakura raised an eyebrow at the female Sannin. Really, who? Anko-sensei, Neji, Shikamaru, asked Sakura, naming off the people who could possibly be the person they will face. All good questions, but no. You may as well come in, ordered Tsunade. Instead of the door opens the windows up and the famous copycat ninja Kakashi steps in with a lazy smile. I see you've returned and you have grown, said Kakashi, giving them an eye smile. Both turn and smiles at their sensei. Both were happy to see the lazy man. Naruto is then hit with realization. He then digs into his bag. Oh, yeah. I almost forgot. I got you a present, Kakashi-sensei, grinned Naruto. He snickers at his sensei has become a stuttering mess in bewilderment at the sight of Makeout Paradise. This is the latest in the Ika if he series. After 3 years I haven't read it through. It's not my thing, plus Tamari-chan will kill me if she caught me reading this book, said Naruto. He can still remember when he first used his Y-clone henge. Tamari best him up till he was black and blue. Tamari, with her arms crossed under her S, smirks at Naruto with a Y grin on her face. You bet your was I would. Sure, Jiraiya might be a hopeless pervert, but that doesn't mean I want you to be like him, said Tamari. Naruto grins at her with his cheesy smile. Well, it's good to see my perverted teammate didn't turn you into a pervert, Kakashi, said Tsunade, turning to the man who lazily looks at her, who puts away his book and looks at the two with his soul eye. His eye focus on Naruto, then back to Sakura. Even with a glance alone he can tell both of them are far stronger, not only mentally but even physically. This put a smile on his face, but he didn't allow anyone to see such emotion. He is supposed to be their cool Kakashi-sensei. Meet me at our usual training ground. There I will explain how this exercise will proceed. Well, until then, see ya later, my cute students, said Kakashi. With that the man vanished, no doubt wanting to get started reading. It has been 3 years without being able to read the newer issues. Tsunade shook her head at the man. She then mutters about being surrounded by perverts. Third training ground. Naruto and Sakura stand in front of their sensei not far away. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Ino, and Tamari stood from a distance. Tsunade glances at the daughter of Rasa with a raised eyebrow. Shouldn't you be on your way home? Asked Tsunade. She was sure the young blonde Kunoichi not only miss her own village but her brothers too. It's fine, Tsunade-sama. Besides, Naruto-kun can just get me home, said Tamari in a respected tone. Tsunade raised an eyebrow at this. She knew Jiraiya had left out some information. For one, he would only tell the bare minimum of what ninjutsu Naruto is capable. All he ever said was the boy was growing fast and had caught in skills with his other classmates. She also knew he didn't want someone like Danzo, Orochimaru, or the Akatsuki to get their hands on this information, but she trusted the man. From now on, the two of you will come me on team related with missions. It's different than before. It's no longer teacher and pupil. Starting today, we're equal Konoha shinobis. Well, first I'm a bit curious as to how you've developed. Said Kakashi. The man pulls out a familiar set of bells. The rules are the same as when I first met you. Two of you don't come at me with the intent to kill, you will never succeed in getting the bells. The rules are the same as before. No matter how, try to get the bells from me. You have until sunrise tomorrow. Said Kakashi. He knew unlike last time he'll have to take this seriously or he might seriously get hurt. The special Junin and Chunin look around the training ground with a nostalgic look on each of their faces. I've missed it. Well, this place, said the smiling blonde Jinchuriki. He haven't realized how much he missed this place until recently. Yeah, said Sakura. Kakashi looks up from his book. Ah, that's right. This is where you first trained, isn't it? Asked Kakashi. Team 7, mutters Sakura, remembering the good times they had in their genin days. The three-man team, said Naruto, staring down at the ground. That time, Sasuke was around too, wasn't he? Asked Kakashi, but this question was more so directed at himself. Kakashi watches as Sakura gains a solemn look on her face and tightened her fist. As for Naruto, the blonde narrowed his eyes thinking about Sasuke. These two reactions caused Kakashi to stare with curiosity. He was honestly expecting the two to be devastated at the mention of Sasuke, but this response was interesting for the man. So those two have grown up quite a bit, thought Kakashi. He then closed the book, gaining the attention of both Naruto and Sakura. Well then, shall we begin? Asked Kakashi. This causes both of the young youths to grin in response. Naruto tightened his forehead protector and grins at Kakashi. You won't do it while reading the book this time, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. He then stretches out, letting his bones pop into place. Sakura smiles to herself as she puts on her combat gloves on. You've already finished it? Asked Sakura. No, I think I should save the enjoyment for later. Besides, this time, for some reason over the feeling I should take it a little seriously too. Said Kakashi. He then unveils his Sharingan. Naruto removed his sword, holding it in a reverse grip, and narrowed his eyes at Kakashi. He unleashes several of shuriken. Kakashi throws his own, seeing the weapons coming his way. Naruto plants his sword in the air and jumps off it. He then creates a clone. The clone throws him to the side. The original grabs his sword, but Kakashi grabs hold of his arm. His use of Kage Bunshin, the timing is very clever, thought Kakashi as he senses another Naruto behind him. This one wields a kunai. Well, your haste hasn't changed, said Kakashi. Naruto grins in response at his sensei. The man smiles at the memory of their first training exercise back then. Naruto had rushed in without thinking. This trail of thought has brought a smile on his face. You've matured, haven't you, Naruto? Thought Kakashi. Alright, then start, said the man. He then vanished in a cloud of smoke. Right, above, left, behind, if he's not anywhere, thought Sakura. She then went through several hand signs: earth release, shattering foundation technique, Doden, Kudakareru Dodai no Jutsu. Exclaimed Sakura. She focused earth affinity into her hand and punched the ground, causing it to split apart, showing Kakashi, who looked on in shock while Naruto stares in shock at the raw power of Sakura. Ino smiles at this. Sakura, you've really changed, haven't you? Said Ino, a low tone. Tamari looks at Ino with a raised eyebrow. That jutsu, so it allows you to mold the earth around you to split apart the ground beneath you. Very smart of you, Sakura. I guess it should make sense. Sakura would have grown stronger too, but to be able to perform that jutsu takes quite a lot of chakra control. But then again, genjutsu would be perfect. Someone like Sakura who has amazing chakra control, she may even become a better ninja than Godime, thought Kakashi. The man smiles inwards, proud of Sakura and Naruto, but he knew he couldn't make it easy for them. Flashback 3 years ago. Enko Mitarashi was known for many things, being sadistic, torturing any poor soul who she faces, her hatred for her former sensei, her love for dango, and liquor. But the one thing she hates more than dealing with the old fossils is someone interrupting her dango and sake time, at which someone has doing right now. Enko glares down at the pink-haired girl who's on, bowing her head before she doesn't even pay any kind. Scram, kid. Can't you see in busy? said annoyed Anko. She remembered the last time someone interrupted her dango time. It was during the month off during the finals of the Chunin exams. If she remembered right, this girl was the teammate of that blonde loudmouth and that Uchiha kid. Please, train me Anko-sensei, exclaimed Sakura with her eyes shut close, ignoring the stick of dango that were thrown at her head. If she remembered right, this woman was a skilled special Junin and someone who was trained by Orochimaru. She knew if she was taken under Anko's wing, she might learn some insight of Orochimaru. Anko has been one of the few Junin who watched the preliminaries of Chunin exams. If asked any of them which fight was the worst, it was the fight between Sakura and Ino. It was clear neither of the two had in real interest in being a kunoichi. Sure, both had potential to be phenomenal ninjas, but that hidden potential was being wasted when they were chasing after Sasuke to kunoichi like Anko, Kurenai, and Yugao. They were a mockery of kunoichi and everything they stood for. Unfortunately, there have been other fangirls they've known who died within a week of leaving the village for a mission. I saw you and the Yamanaka brats fight. I'm actually surprised you two even made this war, no doubt thanks to your teammates, said Anko. She then smiles as the warm liquor went down her throat, feeling her stomach with that warmth. Sakura looks down, remembering how useless she was during the Bell test, Wave mission, Konoha Crush, and in the Forest of Death. And the only reason that fight was even a draw was because of that loudmouth friend of yours. Hell, at least with Blondie she actually has some training under her belt. You on the other hand have none, said Anko in a casual tone, but the tone of her voice has anything but casual and fun. With each word that came from the snake mistress of Konoha had struck a chord. I know that. You don't think I know that. I know the only reason why I've even come this far is because of Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke-kun, and Naruto. I know the one who's really been dragging Team 7 down is me. They're always having to protect me. And I couldn't do anything to stop Sasuke-kun. I just stood there screaming, doing nothing. I'm tired of being weak. I don't want to be a burden anymore. I want to be able to support my team and village. Sasuke-kun is gone training with Orochimaru and Naruto is off with Jiraiya-sama. Even Kakashi-sensei went off to train some more. But I don't go be left behind, please. Anko, train me. I promise I won't complain or backtalk, pleaded Sakura. Anko hums to herself. She lazily looks over at Sakura. You won't complain, We'll see about that. Well, this gives me the chance to rest a new jutsu I'm working on, says Anko. This caused Sakura to shiver in fear at the look in Anko's eyes. She had that look Naruto has right before he hardcore pranks. Flashback and Kakashi's eyes glance between the blonde and pink net. He then takes on a deep breath and sighs, knowing he's definitely not going to be able to read his book anytime soon. Okay. Test 1. Ninjutsu, said Kakashi. The man goes through the hands of snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, and tiger. Fire release. Great fireball technique, Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu, exclaimed Kakashi. He takes a deep breath and released a very large fireball. Naruto narrows his eyes. He goes, claps his hands together. Kakashi misses the grin that was on his face. Water release. High pressured impact, Sweden. Kotsu, exclaimed Naruto. This technique allows the user to create a spiral of water on both hands of the user and fires it with great speed. Kakashi's eyes become wide in shock. Sweden. He knows Sweden, thought Kakashi. He watches as the two techniques come together, creating a fog of mist. Suddenly the fog is clear up by Naruto. Kakashi watches as a small gust of wind is being held in the palm of his Naruto's hands. Naruto then summons a 4-point pinwheel demon windmill shuriken. The giant shuriken is 2 times bigger than a regular size one. Kakashi stares at Naruto with a cautious look. The giant shuriken is coated with wind chakra. He then tosses it towards the ground, but just as it is a few inches from the ground it begins to float, shocking everyone excluding Jiraiya and Tamari, who are just smirking to themselves. Wind release. Cycle Hawk technique, Futon. Saikuruhoku no Jutsu, said Naruto. He jumps on the windmill. They stare in shock as Naruto flies above them. Sakura stares in amazement at her teammate. You can fly, exclaimed a shocked Sakura. I've never seen such a jutsu before. What kind of training did you and Jiraiya-sama do? Wondered Kakashi. With his Sharingan he can see the giant windmill shuriken is covered in a wind affinity. He's never seen a wind jutsu like this before. Naruto looks at Sakura with a wide grin. You can thank Tamari-chan for this technique. You see, I wanted to learn how to use my wind affinity to fly like Tamari-chan, so she helped me develop this technique. I channel my wind chakra through the windmill, allowing me to control it. Think of this technique like an advanced version of the chakra control exercise, but instead of balancing on top of water, I'm balancing on air, explained Naruto. This technique also requires a lot of chakra and stamina. Luckily, Naruto has both. I guess I better not hold back. Rock might seriously get hurt. Naruto, Sakura, you two have grown. I'm sorry for not being there when you two needed me, thought Kakashi. The famous copycat ninja goes over 100 different hand signs with lightning fast hand movements. Both Naruto and Sakura prepare themselves for the jutsu. Water release. Water dragon bullet technique, Sweden. Suiryuden no jutsu. Exclaimed Kakashi. A dragon is formed from water. Its yellow eyes glares down at the blonde and pink-haired duo. The dragon roars in anger and charges at Naruto. Naruto narrows his eyes at the water dragon. He flies at the water dragon. He jumps in mid-air and makes his windmill spin sideways. Naruto then focuses the heel of his feet balancing on the spinning windmill shuriken, wind release cycle hawk, eclipsing night technique, futon saikuruhoku, nishoku yuru no jutsu. Exclaimed Naruto. He then kicks the spinning windmill shuriken. The wind surrounding the windmill shuriken increased in size, becoming a giant wind buzz saw. It cuts through the water dragon, causing it to burst into sparkles of water droplets. Sakura goes through a various set of hand signs. She focuses her chakra into her hand. Learning from Tsunade had allowed her to use Tsunade's massive strength, and with combination of an earth affinity increases the power even further. Earth release. Cherry Blossom Impact Technique, Doden. Sakura Inpakudo no Jutsu. Yelled Sakura. With a mighty cha she punched the ground, causing a huge wave of stone pieces to be rocked from the ground. Seeing the incoming wave of stones, Kakashi creates a wall of earth. Taking brute force of the jutsu, Kakashi lets out a nervous chuckle. Ninjutsu pass. Now let's see how you two do with genjutsu, says Kakashi. The man vanished from his sight. Both Naruto and Sakura were back to back. The two near a sound coming from a nearby bush. From the bush is an injured Sasuke crawling towards them. NN Naruto, SS Sakura. HH help me, pleaded Sasuke, groaning in pain. The two members of Team 7 stares at the Sasuke with a sigh. Naruto and Sakura both break out of the genjutsu. Is that it, Kakashi-sensei? Joked Naruto with a large grin on his face. One of his disadvantages was genjutsu, so Jiraiya and the Toads train him to learn how to detect and release genjutsu. Thanks to his control and massive amounts of chakra made it impossible for him to ever be able to cast genjutsu. We won't fall for a trick like that, Kakashi-sensei, exclaimed Sakura. She then uses the rabbit, dog, cat, ox, boar, and clone hand signs, illusion technique, serpent gaze song, genjutsu, Jagan no Yuta. Said Sakura. Everything begins to morph around Kakashi. Instead of being in the training ground, he now stands in a forest that is surrounded by tropical forest. Kakashi stares in shrugged. Various of white snake wrap themselves around the man, pining the man to the ground. Kakashi grits his teeth at being brought to his knees. Not bad, Sakura, said Kakashi. Thanks to his Sharingan he was able to break out of the genjutsu, which is good, because both Naruto and Sakura are wielding their own sword. Naruto and his Jien sword and Sakura wielding a kodachi. Her kodachi has a sharp edge to it. The pommel of the sword is shaped like a lotus flower. The pommel is royal blue with a light pink lining and the handle of the blade is black in color. Kakashi quickly uses a katana to block Naruto's sword. He then holds Sakura's arm into a right grip. So you both learn kenjutsu, huh? Well, this for interesting. Okay. I wasn't planning on a kenjutsu test, said Kakashi. Everyone in the village knows that Kakashi had joined the Anbu and became its captain. This includes his two students. He then gives them an eye smile and was soon replaced by a piece of log, causing the sword to fumble. Kakashi appears next to Naruto and elbows the blonde in the jaw. Naruto takes a quick step back and slashes at Kakashi, who parries each slash that went his way. He blocks an overhead slash and kicks a left kick to Naruto's ribs. Kakashi then blocks her blade. He then kicks her leg, causing her to lose balance. Kakashi throws his kunai in the air, confusing Sakura. He uses this to his advantage and grasps hold of her kodachi, keeping her in place. She grits her teeth as she tries to move. His eyes then widen as he senses Naruto behind him. He quickly replaced himself with a log, saving him from being cut in two from the trees. A volley of shuriken are being thrown at their direction. Naruto and Sakura deflect the flying weapons. Kakashi jumps in the middle between the two. Kakashi gives them an eye smile as the two slash at him from both sides, just like he did with Naruto and Sasuke all those years ago. He threw both Naruto and Sakura away from each other. Kakashi holds his kunai in a reverse grip. "That stance," muttered Kakashi, recognizing the same stance Yugao and Hayate use. He smiles to himself, proud of how far Sakura has grown. Sakura swings her sword in a circular motion, leaving a trace of afterimages behind, which, befitting to name, mirrors that of a moon. Sakura then rushes at them to deliver a blow, taking advantage of the difficulty in following her movement. "Hazy Moon Knight Oborozukyo," said Sakura. Unfortunately, she was dealing with Kakashi. Someone how has the speed to keep up with her. The two of them trade blows with Sakura on the defense. She follows up with a side slash and sends a roundhouse kick to the side, pushing him back a few feet away. He then puffed out of existence in a cloud when Naruto stabs him through the gut. The blonde is forced to jump away from the exploding tags. Naruto narrows his eyes and performs a 360 overhand slash, forcing Kakashi to back away. He then covered his kunai with his lightning affinity. His kunai slashes with Naruto's blade, which is coated in wind chakra. The two send a kick at each other, but both feet meet, one trying to push the other back. Kakashi backs away and jumps in mid-air and throws the lightning-infused kunai at Naruto, who leans to the side, just barely missing the ninja tool. Kakashi creates a single clone. Both of them throw their own volley of shuriken. Kakashi and his clone covered the shuriken with fire and lightning affinity. Naruto grips his sword with a one-hand reversed grip, Uzumaki sword technique, Whirlpool's velocity, Uzumaki Kenjutsu, Tokui Ten Sokudo Sodo. Exclaimed Naruto. Suddenly Naruto's image changes into his mother, Kushina Uzumaki. He watches in shock as Naruto unleashes fast vertical horizontal sword slashes by slashing sword down in reverse motion and flipping his sword straight. This causes the unorthodox way of this technique had cut the shuriken to ribbons. Fortunately, Kakashi was able to escape with only his arm bleeding. That Kenjutsu style, that was Kushina's, I'm sure of it. Thought Kakashi. He had been on the receiving end of the sword style in his youth. During his time with his team, it was always him and Obito being the receiving end of that technique. Whenever he and Obito were arguing, which was quite often at most time to make them stop, she would just smile at them and they would settle down. "This almost feels personal," says Kakashi with a sweat drop. Kushina was a very beautiful woman, but she was also a very terrifying woman on the battlefield. Besides being known as the red-hot-blooded habanero, Akai Chishio no habanero, to anyone outside of the village she was known as the Scarlet Death, Hiro no Shi, a kunoichi, famous for her red hair and her skills in fuinjutsu and kenjutsu. Naruto and Sakura just Facebook a cheeky grin. "Nothing personal, sensei," says Sakura. "This is a test," says Naruto, causing Kakashi to sign before glancing between the two of them. "All right. Let's see how your taijutsu is," wondered Kakashi. The man then goes through various set of hand signs: water release, water bullet technique, Sweden no jutsu, exclaimed Kakashi. He then expelled a torrent of water at them, forcing them to jump away from the shot of water. Naruto and Sakura grit their teeth in frustration and annoyance as a pair of flash bomb lands before them, and without a second later their sight is overwhelmed by a bright light. As their sight came back to them, both Sakura and Naruto find themselves alone in the training ground. "I knew this would tough, but I guess that's what you expect from copycat Kakashi. And he can counter whichever jutsu we throw at him," said Sakura with a frustrated look. Maybe not, I have an idea," said Naruto. Sakura looks at Naruto with a raised eyebrow. With Kakashi. Kakashi was leaning against a tree with his usual lazy look, but his eyes had a very serious look. Those two sure have grown. Jiraiya had trained Naruto and Sakura had been taught by Konoha's most skilled kunoichi in the village. I definitely can't read it now, thought Kakashi as he pats his back pocket, which where the issue of Makeout Paradise is. After all, Kakashi is the only person brave enough to walk around reading those books out in public. Just as his hand slides in his back pocket grabbing hold of his favorite book, his senses go off. Cha! Earth release. Rose Thorn of Heaven Doden. Tengoku no Bara Toge, exclaimed Sakura. She performs a powerful drop kick. She gathers a dense concentration of chakra in her foot that they release on contact with a target. The resulting damage is enough to seriously damage living targets and will likely also do some collateral damage to the surroundings. Ground that is affected by this jutsu fractures and sends small, flower petal-sized particles into the air. Kakashi's eyes widened as the flower petals began transforming into rose trees. The vines begin to ensnare Kakashi. Damn genjutsu again. Only this time she added genjutsu into her attacks. Smart move, Sakura. Kai. Release. Exclaimed Kakashi. He quickly leans his head to the side, avoiding a left hook from Sakura. He jabs her in the stomach and kicks her in the legs, causing need to call back. She quickly performs a handstand and kicks her leg out. Kakashi jumps in midair and sends a side kick to her head, but she explodes in a cloud of smoke and is replaced with a log, but this log has 3 exploding tags attached to it. Kakashi quickly replaces himself a shadow clone. The real Kakashi is standing on the tree branch with his Sharingan eye. I better not push myself too much, thought the walking scarecrow. He then jumps from his spot as a pair of kunai were just thrown at him. Sakura sends a flying kick at Kakashi, who blocks it. Kakashi's eyes go wide as he realized he can't move. His eyes glance down and noticed his legs are wrapped in gold chains. A sealing formula of the Uzumaki clan appears all over him. Kakashi stares down in shock. He glances behind him, sees Naruto using the snake hand seal, adamantine sealing chains, bondage of restrictions. Kongo Fusa, Kosoku no Sokubaku, said Naruto. Kakashi hears a familiar sound. He turned his eyes and finds Sakura with the bells smiling to herself. She then smiles at Naruto. It looks like your plan worked, exclaimed Sakura. Kakashi blinks his eyes at them. We knew whatever jutsu we throw at you would just be countered by you, so we came up with the idea of layering a ninjutsu with a genjutsu, explained Sakura. We know you are an expert in most shinobi skills, but I remember there is one ninja art you aren't familiar with, and that being fuinjutsu. Not only that, but there is no fuinjutsu capable of rivaling an Uzumaki seal, grinned Naruto. He then releases the seal, causing Kakashi to stumble. The man then covers his Sharingan and gives his 2 students an eye smile. Tsunade and the others walk over to them. She gives the 2 youths a confident grin. Well, you have become strong, huh? I'm amazed you were actually able to get the bells, said Kakashi. I can tell whatever this pervert helped you with pages off. Congratulations, Naruto Uzumaki Special Junin. I'm sure with you back I'm expecting some trouble, grinned Tsunade in a joking manner while ignoring the defeated look on her teammate's face. Naruto's stomach then begins to let itself be known. With an audible growl, Temari rushed to his side, sandwiching his arm between her bust. Come on, Naruto-kun, take to this Ichiraku stand. Think of it as my treat for passing the ball test, says Temari. Naruto grins at Temari with a nod of the head. His stomach growls in response. As Temari drags away her boyfriend, he waves at Sakura and Ino. I guess, I'll see us guys later. Sakura, we'll definitely bring Sasuke back, yelled Naruto. Sakura smiles, waves at him as he vanished from her sight. She gains a somber look on her face. Sasuke-kun. I haven't thought about him in 3 years. I've mostly been focused on training. I haven't had any real time to think about him, thought Sakura. She hadn't thought about the Rogue Uchiha since she began training under Anko. She had even went on a date with Lee. Of course, the young taijutsu user was a little too much for her. The guy was nice, he just tends to overdo a lot of things. She did meet a boy when Konoha 11 was in Sunagaku for the Chunin exam. Kage-sama, the meeting is soon, said an elder. Okay, says Gaara. The two head back into the building. In the past few years, our village's power has stabilized and has maintained good relations with all of our allies, said Goza. Plus, we have good results from the curriculum of the training program we brought in from our new allies, Konoha, and our very own Tamari of the Sand has been training alongside Jiraiya-sama and Naruto Uzumaki, said Ryusa. Seijo grins to himself. There's a Chunin exam soon. I'm looking forward to the results of that. Grinned the man. We can remember the Chunin exam 3 years ago. Well, this close to the Chunin exam, there's been a rumor, said Yura. Everyone turns to look at him with serious expression. Even Gaara narrows his eyes at the man. What is it? Asked Baki, narrowing his eyes. Ye gains a serious yet grave look, causing the tension in the council room to be even more tense than it already is. This information from Jiraiya of the legendary 3. You've all heard of an organization called Akatsuki? Asked Yura. Many of the men nod their head. Yes, we have. They are an organization comprised of S-rank shinobi. We were able to learn about 2 members of this S-rank shinobi, Itachi Uchiha from Konohagakure and Kisame Hoshigaki of Kurigakure. We've learned these shinobi usually operate in a pair of 2, said Baki. The man narrowed his eyes glance over to Gaara, who sits in silence, not uttering a word. They also discussed other things such as candidates for the Chunin exams, who to have as a proctoring the Chunin exam. They even talked about thanks to the relationship with Konoha they were able to get better missions. Well, this is the end of the meeting, said Baki. Hearing this, many of the council members left the room, either heading back room or to continue on with their duties. Yura was walking with Seijo, the grin never leaving elder's face. I'm glad I could advise the superiors have worked for the past 4 years, and furthermore, the source of the information was Jiraiya-sama. I had to make a decision quickly, said Yura. Not only that, but they even found out before Itachi joined the Akatsuki Orochimaru belonged to the group but left, no doubt after he foolishly tried to capture Itachi. But well done, Yura. Have them tighten the security of the village, commented the man. Out of nowhere a switch was flipped in Yura's head. The younger man stumbles with each step. This action confused Seijo. The man looks at Yura with concern. What's wrong? Asked a worried Seijo. No. It's nothing. It's just lack of sleep, groaned Yura. Just a moment ago the young man felt fine, but without any warning his head feels like it will cave in on itself. Seijo looks at the struggling Yura with a look of concern and worry. Take care of your body, advised Seijo, but Yura just simply waved him off and continued with walking with much difficulty. Seijo muttered about young people pushing themselves too much. So that's what it was, groaned Yura, narrowing his eyes in the distance. Somewhere in the vast land of sand 2 figures can be seen, one of average height and the other is hunched over. But the most noticeable thing about these 2 is what they are wearing. Both mysterious figures are wearing a black cloak with red clouds. So, the ones Orochimaru manipulated are ahead. Yeah. It seems for some reason, he leaked our information and turned into a traitor. Yeah. Says Deidara, a blonde man from Iwagakure with a rare explosion release. We don't have a choice, it seems. I don't know what he's like after using that jutsu either. Is it alright just with that bag? Our opponent uses the power of human sacrifice, warned Sasori, the strongest puppet master Sunagakure has ever produced. The young man grins to himself. My jutsus are all artistic, so I came up with my favorite number 18. Yeah, because our opponent is the one tails, yeah. Said Deidara just as he removed his hand from his claw pouch, the mouth on his palm up the clay. What's that? Wondered a shinobi, his eyes narrowed seeing the 2 Akatsuki members. That's lol, is like red clouds on black cloak, thought the man. He narrowed his eyes as he senses someone behind him. He turns and sees Yura. Captain Yura, exclaimed the shocked man. Don't worry, it'll be over soon, said Yura as the puppeteer and embalm expert wait outside the walls of Sunagakure. The walls begin to open. It reveals Yura standing alone with his dead comrades laying on the ground with the walls covered in blood. Well done, you remembered me, asked Sasori, staring at the man with a blank look on his face. Yura bows down before the two rogue shinobi, neither paying much mind to the bowing man or the bloody carnage. Yes, sir. Of course, Sasori-sama, exclaimed the man. All right, if you'd forgotten, I might have had used my jutsu, yeah, exclaimed Deidara with his natural grin on his face. Since your memories have returned, you are my faithful servant, says Sasori in a tone void of any real emotion. The mouth on one of the hands begins to chew. All right, then here we go, says Deidara. The hand spits out a piece of clay. He closes his hand. When he opens his hand, the clay turned into a bird. He then turns to his partner. Sasori, your husband should watch too, yeah, joked Deidara. He throws the claw bird in the air and performs a hand seal. It is then engulfed in a huge mass of cloud. We will attack the village from above. How is it? This artistic modeling, yeah, says Deidara, grinning at Sasori. I can't wait, said Sasori. As the blonde man takes to the sky, one-tail Shukaku's power of human sacrifice, Gaara of the desert, yeah. Well then, what kind of person is he? Wondered Deidara. From the information they had on him, he was an unstable Jinchuriki prone to kill anyone but has change. Deidara grins down as he uses his camera eye to take pictures. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 sky guards. Yeah, however, this village's artistic design isn't too shabby. It's definitely worth ruining it, yeah. I guess I'll make a sneak attack here, says Deidara. He digs into his pouch and pulls out 3 small clay spiders. He then throws down each spider. Each spider quickly attached themselves to their target. As hard as they tried, they won't come off. With a simple hand sign, they explode, killing their targets. Deidara grins at his work. The clay bird flies down to the cage tower. Deidara quickly hops off and lands with a grin. Infiltration successful. Grinned Deidara. As he looks up, he sees Gaara staring down at him with his cold eyes. From the corner of his eye, he sees sand heading his way. He quickly jumps off the building and jumps onto his bird. Gaara sends out his sand and jumps on it. Hey, the Jinchuriki is useful, isn't it? Thought Deidara as he watches the flying cage. However, you knew it was me, yeah, exclaimed Deidara. In this desert, no like that bird exist, said Gaara, staring at him with a cold look. Hey, seems like my sneaking in was a failure, yeah. Thanks to that, I don't need to search for you, yeah, exclaimed Deidara. Gaara glares at him without saying a word. He raised both arms. A massive wave of sand rises from the ground. As one would expect, he has the geographical advantage. It's risky, yeah, said Deidara. Location: Kanahagakure. Uruka smiles at the blonde duo. So, you are a special Junin. That's great, Naruto, exclaimed Uruka with a look of pride when he heard Naruto had returned, and to his surprise returned with a new look and a girlfriend, so he paying for their food for a congratulations for his promotion. Both Tenuchi and Ayame smile as their favorite blonde devours bowl after bowl. He may have grown up, but he still eats ramen like a black hole. So, the other Junin are Shikamaru and Neji. Well, that's no real surprise. Those two definitely have what it takes, said Tamari. If she had to guess, Shikamaru probably was even more smarter and even more of a lazy. She hopes Neji isn't as arrogant as she remembers. Naruto grins at Tamari, and knowing Shikamaru, he probably said being a Junin is too troublesome. Laughed Naruto, mocking Shikamaru, causing everyone to snicker at joke. He then thinks back to Gaara. Cage, huh. I guess you got a head start, thought the blonde. Flashback. 2 years ago. Location: Land of Steel. Naruto slams his hand on the ground and grins down to Gamekichi. Hey, boss. What's up? So you have a treat? Asked the toad, who has grown in size in a year. Naruto rolled his eyes at the toad. Yeah, I got you a treat, said Naruto. He then digs into his back pocket and pulls out a candy bar. Who goes fully takes it. Gamekichi looks around but doesn't see any real damage. All he really sees are lots of trees, mountains, and horses. What's up, Naruto? You're not in a fight, or are you on a mission? Asked the confused toad. Naruto shakes his head negatively at his toad companion. Nah, nothing like that. Ero Senin, let Tamari-chan and I take a break. But I need you to give this to Gaara, says Naruto, giving the small toad a wrapped box. Gamekichi cringed at the mention of Gaara. Gaara. As Gaara of the Sand. The one you fought when Orochimaru invaded the village. Exclaimed Gamekichi. He definitely didn't want to be killed by that guy. Naruto, seeing the traces of fear on Gamekichi's face, just chuckles. He won't hurt you, he's changed. Look, if you're that scared, just find him, give him the box and leave. Advised Naruto, though he couldn't blame Gamekichi for being scared of the Sand Jinchuriki. Hell, everyone in Konoha 11 was scared of Gaara when he fought and destroyed Rock Lee. Sure, that'll work, said Gamekichi. He then was engulfed in a cloud. Flashback end. Suddenly, Naruto's eyes went wide. He then narrowed. Temari catches the sudden change of her boyfriend and looks at him with confusion and worry. What is it? Asked Temari with her tail-colored eyes looking in his blue orbs. It's Gaara. He's in trouble, said Naruto. The blonde rises to his feet, abandoning the bowls of ramen. Kazekage-sama. Wait, how do you know this, Naruto? Questioned Iruka, staring at Naruto like he had just lost his mind. Iruka didn't understand it. 1 minute he was happily sitting down with them eating his ramen with a dumb grin, then without warning his mood switched. No time to explain, Iruka. I want you to go to Ba-chan and tell her the Kazekage is in trouble and it is possible it's an Akatsuki attack. Demanded Naruto before Iruka can work. Even questioned his favorite blonde ninja. Naruto scoops up Temari and puts her on his back. The blonde duo then vanished in a flash of yellow, leaving all three of them shocked at what they just saw. Damn it, Naruto, cursed Iruka. It hasn't even been a week and trouble has already began to start. The Chunin slaps down the necessary amount of money and storms off towards the Hokage office. Naruto and Temari appeared on top of a building. The male brings out his giant demon windmill. He then turns back to look at Temari, who has a serious and concerned look on her face. You ready, Temari-chan? Asked Naruto. The fan user nods her head at her boyfriend. She jumps on his back, snuggling against her favorite blonde. Naruto then throws his giant shuriken and hope on it. The two take off. Naruto then dug into his pocket and pulls a prolonged kunai with ceiling writhing. He throws the kunai and the two vanished in a yellow flash. With Tsunade, the busty cage sizes, she had just finished an overly large stack of papers and is now working on the next sack. She was hoping if she finished this stack she'll head out and buy some delicious sake. Her peaceful thoughts were cut short by Iruka storming into the office. Iruka. What the hell is wrong with you? Demanded Tsunade. Not only had the academy teacher stormed into her office by the loud bang of the door being opened to hard caused every paper to fall to the floor, causing Tsunade's she-bros to twitch in annoyance. It's Naruto, exclaimed Iruka. Tsunade then went on guard. Wonder what has happened after all. The blonde had just returned, and besides, just how much trouble could the blonde possibility get in? He said Gaara was in trouble and it's possible it's the Akatsuki. And I think him and Temari left to confront whatever trouble Kazekage-sama is in, explained Iruka. You think? Iruka, what the hell do you mean you think? Demanded Tsunade, who was in no mood to play games. He vanished. They vanished in a flash of light, said Iruka. Tsunade nearly fell back at what Iruka had just said. She only knew one jutsu by that description. She then jumped to her feet. Shizune. Get me, Team 7 and Ino, right now, yelled Tsunade. The whole building shook at the sheer volume of the Godime's voice. Iruka gulps in fear. Hi, Tsunade-sama, yelled Shizune, followed by the sound of a pig. Location: Sunagaku. Gaara vs Deidara. Three swan-like clay birds fly at Gaara. The Jinchuriki of the one tail simply forms the sand around him to form a sphere made out of sand unknown to Deidara. Nexus being spied on by one of Gaara's sand eyes. It's like the eggshell protects the inner contents, says Deidara with a smirk, but the smirk has been on his face during the whole fight. But to be able to guard against all that is totally impressive. Yeah, thought Deidara. His eyes went wide as he's soon surrounded by a giant mass of sand. This is bad, yeah, commented Deidara. His bird flies them out while Deidara was barely able to escape from being crushed to dust. His clay figure wasn't so lucky. Just as Deidara begins to start free falling, his arm is caught by sand, shocking Deidara. Gaara holds his hand in familiar motion, one that everyone in Sunagaku knows of. sand binding coffin, Sabaku Q, said Gaara. Just like many others, once the sand has a hold of you, it crushed you. Seeing no other option, Deidara creates an owl and flies off, abandoning his now severed right arm. You're good, yeah, commented the man. His hand digs into his clay pouch once again. Oh my. I've only got a little bit of clay left. Just enough for one more attack. I see the sand that he used to crush my hand and sand that he protects with is different from the normal desert sand that he brings up in terms of speed and power, so that means that he's always walking around with a set amount of sand in his gourd. So, in other words, only that sand is specially made sand made from a ton of chakra all gathered up, thought Deidara. And so, that's where we get that ultimate defense of sand as well as sand to attack in an instant. So in that case, that hole in the sand right there is the result of him crushing my hand. All I have left of explosives is number 18 in this homing bird. Yeah, thought Deidara. He holds his clay to create a small figurine. From looking at the shape, we can assume that Kage-Sama's opponent is probably a member of the Akatsuki organization, said Baki. The man still can't help but feel unsettled. Sure, Gaara has advantage in this fight, but Deidara doesn't even seem alarmed at the loss of a limb. It's just as I thought, said Kankuro, glaring at the clay figure. The puppeteer tightens his fist, not liking his younger brother is risking his life to stop Deidara while all he can do is just watch. Hurry, prepare for battle. We're going to back up the cage. Medical team, set a barrier and guide the civilians in there, ordered Baki. The bald man didn't like how dragged out this fight was. In most cases, Gaara would have already killed the enemy by now, but it's clear this man is obviously a cut above the rest. Behind Baki and Kankuro, a small group of medical ninjas dropped down, each of them kneeling before the man. Sir, exclaimed a medic nin. Kankuro, says Baki. What is it? Asked Kankuro, looking at Baki with a look on confusion. His sensei looks at him with a serious and grave look. Consider the idea of Gaara going crazy again in your head, as well as a scenario when Shukaku comes out too, warned Baki. Kankuro scoffs at the very notion. That won't happen. Gaara won't harm the people of the village, said the confident. He remembers talking to his younger brother and Gaara's desire to be needed and forge bonds just like Naruto. Deidara's figurine is covered in a thick cloud. Once the cloud of smoke vanished, the figurine is far much larger than his previous clay creations. That's it. I'm going to destroy this town, yeah. However, he was stronger than I thought. It's just like Sasori said, I was unprepared. To be stopped from below would put me in such a bad more. That, and I'm tired of your expressionless face. Hehe. The explosion clay doll that I made of clay and chakra from the mouth in the palm of my hand, said Deidara with a twisted look of enjoyment as large clay bomb drops to ground. He takes you in, watching the shocked and horrified expression from shinobi and civilian alike. From all the things I can make, my specialty number 18 has my highest level chakra, C3, put into it. Its exploding strength is my greatest artistic achievement, thought Deidara. Everyone could only stare in fear at the massive bomb. What the hell is that? This is bad. Spread out, ordered a fearful Baki. You're too late, yeah, said Deidara with a dark look on his face and a grin plastered on his face. But just before he can use the hand seal to detonate the bomb, that comes in contact with a large sealing formula that appeared just below the bomb. Everyone watches, including Deidara and Gaara, who stare in utter shock. The clay then vanished, confusing many of the others. Fortunately for Deidara and Gaara, they see bomb suddenly appeared outside of the border of Sunagakure. When the blast comes off, a huge sandstorm hits the people of Sunagakure. The force of the blast had nearly knocked many of the people to the ground. The others covered themselves from the powerful blasts of wind. What the he, get away from my brother, yelled Tamari, slamming her fan against his face, throwing him off his bird. Gaara stares in shock at the sudden appearance of his sister. He stood in utter shock. Well, that was close, said Naruto, shocking Gaara, who just suddenly appeared on a nearby roof. He watches as the two blondes fly up to him. The blonde Konohagakure shinobi looks at Gaara with concern. Are you alright? Wondered Naruto, but his eyes never left Deidara. So, that's Deidara the mad bomber. If he's here, then his partner must be around, thought Naruto. I'm alright, he's been causing me trouble, said Gaara. His eyes then glances at the kunai he had thrown at a roof, then glances back at Naruto. He then turns to his sister but kept his focus on Deidara. So that's the Jinchuriki's sister Tamari of the sand. Unlike the Kazekage, she doesn't use sand but wind. No doubt she's talent in that area, thought Deidara. He then turns his attention towards Naruto. The man then begins to grin ear to ear. Ah. Now it makes sense. No wonder you were made a Jinchuriki, 9 tails. I can't believe I didn't realize sooner you are the Yondaime's legacy. Grinned Deidara. He also couldn't believe he had both the 1 tails and 9 tails were standing in front of him. Naruto crossed his arms and narrowed his eyes at Deidara. So, and what about it? Do you want to kill me? I've met other Iwagakure ninjas who wanted to outright kill me, says Naruto looking at Deidara's mouth hand. Deidara simply shook his head negatively while keeping a playful grin on his face. Nah, whether you're the Yondaime's son doesn't matter. I don't care who the yellow flash killed, that has nothing to do me. But 3 against fair don't you, I think, yeah, said Deidara. He then mentally cursed himself, seeing as Naruto knows Hirishin no Jutsu is a big problem, that one jutsu is capable of killing over 1,000 people. He may have been too young to during the Third Shinobi War, but he remembers stories of Minato Namikaze and he didn't want it to be on the receiving end of those infamous kunai. Tamari scoffed at the man with a scowl on her face. Fair? You speak of fair when you attack my village, threatened my brother and attempted to destroy my village. You don't get to speak of fairness, you Akatsuki trash, snarled Tamari, glaring daggers at Deidara, a grin that has never left his face. Damn, this isn't good. I wasn't expecting the 9 tails to suddenly be here. Not only that, but I don't have enough clay and plan to capture the 1 tails, thought Deidara. He wasn't sure if he was going make out alive, but if he does make out alive, he was definitely going to take Sasori's advice. The man then grins wider as a clay bird flies by Gaara. Just as the creature explodes, a flash of light can be seen. As the cloud from the explosion blows away into the wind, they see the sand sphere crumbling apart, revealing no one inside, confusing everyone except Naruto and Tamari. The blonde then looks down at a building where Gaara was teleported. The red-haired Kazekage looked confused at what just happened. What this must be Naruto's doing, thought Gaara. He watches as Deidara tries to escape. This causes Gaara to narrow his eyes. He raised his hand and bullets of sand are launched at him. The bird manages to dodge the various volley of sand. Tamari takes out a pair of her miniature fan. Oh no you don't. Wind release. Dance of blades, futon. Fujin no mai, exclaimed Tamari with her fan. She creates a wind gust that morphs as it travels through the air into a plethora of crescent-shaped blades that pierces through the clay bird, causing it to be sliced to pieces. Naruto flies towards the falling Deidara. He quickly extends his left hand out. Golden chakra chains are formed and quickly wrapped themselves around the male. Naruto then removed his sword and placed it on his neck. Deidara slowly turns head. Don't even bother trying to escape. These chains can hold a biju. I doubt they'll have a problem holding you now. I have a question. Where is your partner? Demanded Naruto, but Deidara doesn't say a word. Instead, the man just grins. Naruto ced his tongue in annoyance. If this guy anything like Deidara, he must be somewhere else, thought Naruto. He then turned towards Kankuro. Kankuro, go after the other member. He must be outside the village, ordered Naruto. Kankuro looks at his brother, who just nods his head. Right, Tamari, I'm going on ahead, yelled Kankuro, taking off. Gaara turns to Baki and his men, who each bowed at their Kazekage. Send out a pursuit team to follow Kankuro immediately, and send an urgent message to Konoha about this situation. This is an emergency, said Gaara in a flat tone. Roger. Kazekage-sama, exclaimed the men as each of them runs after Kankuro. Gaara floats in the air next to Naruto and glares at the man who endangered his village. Sasori watches as Naruto and Gaara surround the contained Deidara. I told that fool he should have prepared himself. Then again, I wasn't expecting the 9 tails to suddenly appear, thought Sasori. What's this? Exclaimed Kankuro, looking at the bloodied bodies of his comrades. The young Junin growled in anger. The young youth continues to run and sees the hunched over Sasori. Wait. Where do you think you're going? demanded Kankuro, glaring at the man who just stares back with a look of emotionless look. You think I'll let you walk out of here? Growled Kankuro. He then tosses 3 scrolls to the ground. Each explode in a puff of smoke. As the wind blows away the smoke, it reveals his 3 puppets: Crow, Salamander, and Black Ant. Like hell, I'll let you go. Snarled Kankuro. With his chakra strings, he commands Crow to attack Sasori, but the man catches the puppet with his mechanical scorpion-like tail. Since I don't like waiting or making people, I'll end this quickly, said Sasori in a cold tone void of any emotion. Location: Kanahagakure. Sakura and Ino glance at each in confusion. The atmosphere in the room was so cold and tense, and the serious and angry look of Tsunade was only making things worse. Sakura really hoped Naruto and Kakashi would arrive already. She had to admit it was weird Naruto wasn't here yet. He never mess a chance code a mission. Kakashi entered the room and quickly put away his book, seeing that Tsunade looked quite angry. I have just been informed, Gaara, the goddamn cage could possibly be taken by the Akatsuki, but there is something else. Naruto Uzumaki along with Tamari of the Sand have recently left the village to stop the Akatsuki, said Tsunade. She watches as the look of shock and horror on her student's face and Kakashi narrowing his eye. Your mission is simple. Go to Sunagakure and provide Naruto backup, find out the situation, and relay it to Konoha, ordered Tsunade. Each member nods their head. The only thing that ran in their mind was what danger Naruto got himself in. Location: Sunagakure. Kankuro pants heavily and wipes away sweat from his forehead. Damn it, says Kankuro as his puppets lay around him destroyed. Your plan was good, it's just not good enough against me. Your puppet's whole poison preparation mechanism is worthy of praise, said Sasori. Why, this is the first time my puppet's preparation has been read into so deeply, thought a furious Kankuro. Ahaha, you have a strange look on your face. Why were your preparations known? It's because the one that created your puppet dolls, Crow, Black Ant, and Salamander, was none other than me, said Sasori, shocking the young puppeteer. A cute youngster like you being my opponent, it was the most fun battle I've had in a long time, says the man. Kankuro's eyes stare in shock. So wait, you're the one they called the Puppet Army's genius model creator, Sasori from the Red Sands, right? Asked a fearful Kankuro. He heard of this man among puppeteers. The man was the strongest puppet master Sunagakure has produced. For my name to be known all the way down to a kid like you is an honor, says Sasori. You left the sand over 20 years ago, why? Asked Kankuro. What good is it for a person about to die, to ask that? Questioned Sasori in deadly tone. Don't count me out yet, growled Kankuro. The young puppeteer growls in anger and fear. Damn it. Grayed out all the people who had to face it had to be Sasori of the Sand. I guess I have to use those Gaara, Tamari, Sakura. I'm not sure if I'll make it out, thought Kankuro. He then pulled out 2 storage scrolls. As each scroll opened, one scroll has the word Black Shark, Kurosame, and the other has Crocodile, Kurokodiru. Each scroll is engulfed in a cloud of smoke. As it vanishes, Sasori stares with interest at the 2 new puppets Kankuro summoned. The 2 new puppets Kankuro summoned resembles a shark while the other one resembles a crocodile. Sasori hums to himself with interest as he stares at the shark puppet, which resembles a great white shark, and the crocodile puppet resembles a crocodile. These toys must be your own creation, but I highly doubt they are going to be even match for me, mocked Sasori as his poisonous tail moves lazily but ready to defend or attack if necessary. Kankuro snarls at him. He then pants heavily. Damn, I can already start to feel the poison's affect. Black secret technique. Sunrise flame, Kurohige, Hinode no Hano, thought Kankuro. The shark puppet opens its mouth, releasing a purple must from his mouth. He then commands Kurokodiru open its mouth, and a stream of flames escaped from its mouth. As the flames comes in contact with the purple must, it ignites and explodes in a torrent of flames. Kankuro smirks as he sees the image be consumed by the flames. Kankuro then howl in pain as he's stabbed in the back. He slowly turns head to stare at Sasori, who removed his poisonous tail. The poison should be making its round soon enough. Foo, if you wants to live so badly, I won't kill you. However, that poison will kill you in 3 days, said Sasori, walking away, leaving Kankuro laying in the ground in defeat. Later. It's a new poison, we haven't found any kind of antidote, said the man looking down at the poisoned Kankuro. If we don't hurry he won't last 3 days are out limit. We call the siblings, though I'm not sure how willing they will be to help, said a worried Baki. He then glances at Tamari, who's standing over her brother with a worried and concerned look. Damn it, Gaara was saved in the end, but Kankuro was seriously injured. Damn it, I'm their sensei and I couldn't anything to help them, thought Baki. He then glances over at the two Jinchuriki. He walks over to them. Naruto, you said you informed your team, correct? Asked Baki. Yeah, it should take them about 2 days, I believe, said Naruto. Baki nods his head in acceptance. Do you know if there will be a medic? Our medics here can't make head or tails on the poison, asked Baki. Actually, I do. My teammate Sakura Haruno has been studying under Tsunade Senju, said Naruto. He was smart not to call the blonde Senju the nickname he has for her. Baki stares in shock. He then smiles widely. Really? A student of Godime, that's great, exclaimed Baki. Maybe this can turn around. He was also thankful for Naruto. Not only was their leader safe, but they even had Deidara captured. The man was held captive, was surrounded by Anbu. He also has suspension seal on him, and 2 Naruto clones watching over Deidara. Sometime later, Team Kakashi with the addition of Ino Yamanaka enters the hospital room. Well, Sakura runs into the room. Kankuro-kun, exclaimed Sakura. Just as the other occupants turned towards the pink net, Chio's attention was on Kakashi's face, which had set something off in her head. She stares at Kakashi as if she saw a ghost. The white fang of Konoha, exclaimed Chio. She moves with incredible speed for someone her age, but Kakashi looks at the elderly woman in shock and confusion. Before she can even land a bit on her, a kunai lands in front of her and Naruto flashes in front of her. He catches her fist and kicks her back a few feet back. What are you doing attacking Kakashi-sensei? This isn't the white fang, exclaimed Naruto. She's probably as old as the old man, but there sure was a lot of power behind the punch, thought Naruto, glaring at elderly woman. She glares at Kakashi, not even paying any kind what the blonde shinobi even said. I remember that time, that white fang of Konoha, my son's enemy. I will get my revenge for him today, declares Chio in a hardened tone. Naruto picks up the Hiroshin kunai and holds it in a reverse grip. Ah, no, I'm not, exclaimed Kakashi. There's no use in arguing, exclaimed Chio, but before she could charge at him once again, her brother steps in the way, halting her actions, confusing her. Sister, take a good look. There's a strong resemblance, but he isn't the white fang of Konoha, said Ebizo. Chio stares blankly with her eyebrow twitching. After a minute of awkward silence, everyone waits for her to respond. She then begins to laugh it off. No waaaay. I was just pretending to be stupid. Yahaha, laughed Chio. Everyone sighs at this while Kakashi breathed in a breath of relief that the old woman seemed to have finally calmed down. Ino and Sakura turned towards the other Sunagaku shinobi. More importantly, Kankuro needs to be treated quickly, exclaimed Ino. Gaara nods his head. Please, continue, says Gaara in a solemn tone, but they see the red-haired youth is just as worried for his elder brother as Tamari was. The two siblings were also angry at the man for putting their brother on death's door. Ino then begins working on retracting the poison from Kankuro. She smiles at this. Got it. I don't think there's any news to worry about his life anymore. I've directly removed the poison, said Ino, wiping the sweat from her forehead. Tamari released a breath of relief. Sakura then turned towards Chio. Now Ino and I have to make an antidote for the little bit of poison in his body. We can't relax yet. Please gather what I say, said Sakura. Chio glances at the two female kunoichi. I too remind me of that slug woman that two girls like you would come, says Chio. She also hadn't expected to have so many young Konohagakure shinobi to help. Ino and Sakura smile while Chio stares at the two in silence. Even Naruto was surprised how much the two former fangirls have grown. Yes, it's because Tsunade-sama is our master. And Tsunade-sama said that the two of us should come here, says the smiling Ino. The platinum blonde glances at Sakura, who was holding Kankuro's hand. Sister, time really is slowly flowing by. said Ebizo. The elderly members smile at the close friendship between the sand and leaf. Ino, do you think Sakura can handle this on your own? There's something Gaara and I need you for, said Naruto, confusing Ino but with a quick glance from Sakura, who nods at her best friend, simply follows after her blonde as he walks over to the cage. Ino turns to Gaara with a look of confusion on her face. Cage-sama, what exactly do you need of me? Asked Ino in personally tone, which impressed Naruto. She definitely wasn't the same loud and bossy gossip girl she once was. Then again, it has been 3 years since he last saw the platinum blonde. Gaara's eyes glances back at his slumbering brother, who is holding hands with the pinknet, who has a small smile on her face. Gaara then turns back to the student of Tsunade. We have a prisoner we need you to extract information from, said Gaara in a cool tone. Ino looks at him with caution. You guys captured the other Akatsuki member? Asked Ino. Neither Naruto or Gaara showed any expression, just a neutral one. The look was natural for Gaara since he began to change. The young Kazekage has always been in control over his own emotions, but to see Naruto so composed was amazing itself. His name is Deidara, the Mad Bomber, said Gaara. Even though Deidara was as young as his sister, the man was incredibly strong. Even in his homeland where he has maximum advantage, he was pushed to his limits. He rather not think about what if Naruto and Temari hadn't have appeared when they did. The youngest Kazekage then leads the 2 Konohagakure ninjas to the holding cell. Ino turns to look at Naruto with a curious and cautious gaze. Naruto catches Ino looking at him and raised his eyebrow in confusion. Naruto, I have no, how exactly did you and Temari get here so fast? Asked Ino to her. Naruto and Temari getting to Sunagakure in under a few others made no sense to her. She knew Naruto had a way to travel by air, but they still shouldn't have gotten here fast. She knew was the most unpredictable shinobi, but evil still, there had to be some explanation. Since I'm sure Kakashi-sensei or Ba-chan will eventually tell you, I might as well tell you. The jutsu I used is called Flying Thunder God Technique, Hiroshin no Jutsu. The technique allows me teleport whenever I throw a marker, said Naruto. Seeing the look of confusion on her face when he says marker, he pulls out a prolonged kunai. With this sealing formula, it allows me teleport to one to another. Think of it as an advanced form of Shunshin, but only 2 people have successfully learned it, the creator Tobarama Senju and Minato Namikaze, explained Naruto. Ino stares in shock. Not only had the blonde learned a difficult jutsu, but a jutsu only Nadame and Yondaime were able to learn. You just keep surprising me, Naruto, thought Ino. She wonders what else he has up his sleeve, but she supposed only time will tell. So, Kankuro and Sakura, good for her. Through I never thought Kankuro and Sakura would ever be in a relationship, commented Naruto. He was happy for his friend finding someone. He is happy that she has finally gotten over her obsession for Sasuke, and he's sure the puppet master would treat her car better than Sasuke ever would. The blonde couldn't help but to wonder just how stronger Sasuke has become. Ino snickers at this, making her fellow blonde to look at her as if she had grown a second head. You're one to talk about unexpected couples. When you and Temari came back as a couple, joked Ino. Hearing this causes Naruto to laugh softly and rubs the back of his head. That's fair, but what about you? Asked the curious Jinchuriki. What about me? Questioned Ino. Naruto rolled his eyes at the kunoichi. Are you seeing anyone? Or maybe you have your eye on a certain lazy bum? Joked Naruto, but also asking her back in the academy and was one of the prettiest girls, and even now she was a total bombshell. He wouldn't doubt if every guy in the village had tried to talk to her. She also seemed to have calmed down quite a lot too. Ino looked at Naruto as if he had grown a second head. Me and Shikamaru? No way that would happen. He's too lazy, and the bum might be smart, but he's too lazy. Even getting up in the morning is too much of a drag. And he's a Junin, for crying out loud, exclaimed a very heated Ino. Naruto snickers at the ranting Yamanaka. He remembered she would always rant about Shikamaru's laziness or Choji constantly eating. Naruto stops his snickering and Ino stops her ranting as they walk towards the holding cell. 4 members of the Anbu were guarding the holding cell. Each member bows to their Kazekage. Kazekage-sama. Is everything alright? Asked the Anbu puppet master, who was concerned about his fellow puppeteer. Everything is alright, now. Kankuro is saved thanks to Ino Yamanaka and Sakura Haruno. How is the prisoner, Aunt? Questioned Gaara. He hasn't said anything of use Kage-sama, said Ant, and his colleagues almost groaned as they were each forced to listen to him rant about how very chaotic concept of water is and his suggestions about new art, and neither of them were pleased to listen. Very well, please move aside, commanded Gaara. Each of the Anbu nods their head at Gaara and step aside. Deidara turns his head towards the door and grins wide at the new people entering the room. They watch as the clones who surrounded Deidara had all went poof. Naruto groans lowly, causing Ino and Gaara to look at Naruto in confusion. What is it? Is something wrong? Asked Gaara with a look of concern and mentally ready to use his sand to protect his best friend and Ino. It's nothing, I just received the knowledge of my clones. Your Anbu were right though, all he ever talked about was his clay, and if he listened to his partner he couldn't possibly captured both you and I, but nothing too important. Says Naruto. The two just now their heads in agreement. Later they can ask about how he got the memories from his clones, but now they have business to attend. Gaara turned his attention on Deidara and stares at him with a cold, emotionless expression. He could hear Shukaku from his mindscape telling him to kill Deidara, but H ignores sand creature even though he really wants nothing more to kill Deidara. The Akatsuki member grins widely as his eyes glance towards Naruto, Gaara, and then to Ino, who then begins to chuckle to himself. You brought one of your little friends. I doubt she's anything like Ibiki. Yeah. She doesn't look very as scary as him either. Yeah. Exclaimed Deidara, grinning ear to ear. Ino turns to look at Gaara. He just gives her a simple nod of the head and uses the Yamanaka clan hand sign, mind-body switch technique, Shintention no Jutsu. Exclaimed Ino. Within a few moments Deidara's head goes limp, a clear sign the mind technique was a success. How long do you think it will take for Ino to get what she wants in Deidara's mind? Asked Gaara with a tone of curiosity. While the redhead was pushed to his limits and his brother was recovering from the poison, he still didn't have time to rest. But fortunately, I was able to keep Shukaku at bay. Thought Gaara. Even though he might have won if he'd transformed into the one-tailed Biju, he rather not rely on such a creature, especially if it meant the Biju would just end up destroying the village. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. He then glances at his fellow blonde, remembering when Sakura and Ino fought each other during the Chunin exams. Honestly, I'm not sure. I've only seen her use the technique on Sakura back in the Chunin exams, but from what I remember she nearly won that fight. But, from what I understand, it doesn't take too long for Ino to enter someone's mind. If Team Asuma they could answer your question better than I did, said Naruto, narrowing his eyes at Deidara. He trusted Ino to get what she needs from his mind, but this man even with one hand is still quite deadly. Then all we can do is wait and be prepared for anything, stated Gaara. Unfortunately, yeah, but the moment Deidara makes one wrong move we take him out. Asked Naruto. Gaara nods his head agreement. Yes, this man still has to pay for attacking my village. Said Gaara with his sand moving in response, always ready to protect the son of Rasa at any moment. And as for Naruto, he pulls out his prolonged kunai. Through. I wish this reunion could have happened in better circumstances, but I am glad to see my sister after these 3 long years. Said Gaara with a small smile on his face. Naruto notices this smile and smiles back and pats him on the shoulder. I'm just glad I was able to get here in time. I wouldn't be able to forgive himself if I wasn't able to save you like Sasuke, said Naruto. You still don't blame yourself for Sasuke's leaving your village, do you? Asked Gaara, remembering how upset he was over his failure of the Sasuke retrieval mission. No, not anymore. Sasuke made his decision to leave with Orochimaru. No one forced him and no one kidnapped him. Sasuke willing left the village of his own discord. Besides, I have better things to worry about than those two, said Naruto. Gaara smiles at this. It seems like it was a good thing my sister joined you on your training trip after all, said Gaara, smiling to himself. Naruto looks at Gaara with a blush on his face. What's that supposed to mean? Exclaimed Naruto with an overly dramatic expression, looking like a deer caught in a headlights. Nothing. She's just been a positive influence, and I can say the same with Tamari. I never did thank you for protecting my sister these past 3 years when myself and Kankuro were unable to, says the Cage. Naruto then gives Gaara his infamous grins, there's no need to thank me, we're friends after all. And I would always be there to protect Tamari-chan, she's someone I considered precious. Grinned Naruto. Gaara stares at Naruto with a look of shock before smiling at him. They then hear a low groan coming from Ino. She turns around to look at the two with a serious look. Everyone is going to want to hear this, said Ino with a serious face. She then turns to look at Naruto with a look of concern, confusing the blonde Jinchuriki. Very well. Anbu, take this man to a holding cell and watch him till Irabaki returns. If he tries anything, you have my permission to handle the situation you see fit, ordered Gaara. Each of the Anbu members all yelled a loud audible hi. As the trio had returned, they find Sakura snuggling up to a peaceful-looking Kankuro. Ino snickers at the scene. Kakashi closes his book and gives them an eye smile. So, how did it go? Were you able to learn anything, Ino? Asked Kakashi in his cool, lazy tone. Hi, Sensei, I was able to learn quite a bit. For example, I was able to learn the identity of 2 other Akatsuki members and the Jinchuriki they've already taken. And I even managed to learn about Sasori's meeting with a contact of his at Tenchi Bridge, and guess what, his contact is Kabuto, meaning you guys can find out where Sasuke is, said Ino. Kakashi's soul eye goes wide before becoming serious. I see that as a lot. Who are the other 2 Akatsuki members you were able to identify? Asked Kakashi. The only Akatsuki member Kakashi had fought was Itachi, but that fight was one-sided. But the copycat ninja wonders just how dangerous these other 2 members are. From what I can gather, these 2 are Kakuzu, a missing nin from Takigakure, and Hidan, the immortal butcher from Yugakure and worshipper of Jashin, said Ino. Kakashi and Baki looked puzzled. Neither of the 2 never heard of these 2. What of the Jinchuriki that have been taken? Who are they? Asked Baki, wondering just how many Jinchuriki have the Akatsuki captured. So far they have captured Yugito Ni of the 2-tailed cat, Fu of the 7-tailed beetle, and Han of the 5 tails, said Ino with a grave expression. It even made it worse. She saw the pained expression of those 3 Jinchuriki as the Biju were removed, but I've also learned something else. When they were extracting the Biju, I found out they don't just outright kill them, they take them to a secure location, said Ino. Each of them stood in silence. Lady Chiyo and her brother Ebizo stares at the Konoha ninja, shock. May I ask you something? Asked Chiyo, looking at Naruto, Kakashi, Sakura, and Ino. Look at the elderly last with curiosity. Tamari grabs hold of Naruto's hand. The eldest of the Sand sibling looks at Chiyo with caution. Tamari looks towards Naruto, who slowly nods his head. Why would you go so far for the Cage-sama who doesn't belong to your village? Asked Chiyo. She was also curious as to why he seemed so familiar with Gaara and his siblings. Why? Well, because Gaara and I are alike but yet so different. We both experienced loneliness and the hardship of a burden. But he's also my friend, and I refuse to allow the Akatsuki to attack one of my friends, said Naruto. Chiyo stares at the blonde in amazement. Her eyes then went wide as she sees Naruto's figure be replaced by Minato Namikaze, the son of the Yellow Flash, being trained by the son of the White Fang. Who would have ever thought shinobi from 2 different villages can get along and show this level of trust and compassion with one another? Thought Chiyo. She smiles on at the scene, never believing to see such a level of trust. Her eyes focus on Naruto. Child, what is your name again? Asked Chiyo. Naruto grins at the elderly woman with his natural Y grin. Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hokage, said Naruto with his tone laced with absolute confidence. Tamari looks over at her Uzumaki boyfriend and recognized the look on his face. That was the same look he had when he fought Gaara, and the same look he gave her many times on their training trip. She also came to recognize. Never bet against Naruto because you will lose. Lady Chiyo bows to Naruto, shocking many of the inhabitants of the Sunagakure population stares in shock, knowing her distrust in Konohagakure. Even her own brother knew just how far this hate for Konohagakure ran. Thank you, Naruto, you have saved the Cage and its Cage. For that I thank you, and you have opened my mind to what a mistake I have made, says Lady Chio with a small smile, thinking back to when Rasa, the previous Kazekage, has ordered her to seal Shukaku into his third newborn son, but unfortunately her expertise weren't in Fuinjutsu. Naruto looks on in conference. She ignores his confused look and remembers the times she spent with Sasori. She then gains a somber look. The one who fought with Kankuro was Sasori of the Red Sand. My grandson, I will tell you everything you need to know about him, said Chio. Naruto stays quiet and simply nods his head. Hearing this somewhat surprised him, but he figured it made sense that the two puppet users are related. Time skip. Team 7 stood in front of the gates Sunagaker, all ready to leave. In front of them were Gaara and many other Sunagaker ninjas. Baki, along with many shinobi of the sand, bows at Naruto, surprisingly many of them. Naruto Uzumaki, thank you for saving Gaara once again, said Baki. Even though he was a high-ranked Junin and the sensei of the sand sibling, he still felt guilty. He could do nothing to help Gaara or Kankuro. Naruto simply smiles at the bald man. It's no big deal, I was only doing what was right, said Naruto. For the blonde, rescuing Gaara is second nature. Even if Tsunade forbid him from rescuing Gaara, he still would have saved him simply because it is the right thing to do. Plus he knew Gaara would no doubt do the same for him. There's no need to be modest, young one. What you did was an incredible feat. But from I heard you have saved Kazekage-sama before, correct? Asked Chio. She heard after the failed joint invasion with Otogaker, Gaara had changed and stopped downright killing anyone and anything that came close to him, which greatly surprised her. She remembered hearing the people of Konoha praising Sasuke Uchiha, but it was Naruto Uzumaki, the supposedly dead last of Konoha. My sister is right, young one. She is the one who sealed Shukaku inside of Gaara, said Ebizo. The people of Konoha glances at Lady Chio, who lowered her head in shame, no doubt feeling regret about the life she was forced to put Gaara on. They then glances at Gaara, who seems to be surrounded by two Suna Genin Matsuri and Yukata. The Konoha team then glances back at Ebizo. She always blamed herself for sealing Shukaku into Gaara, feeling like she doomed Gaara to a horrible fate, but because of you Gaara has become a great Kage and is constantly working to make sure the village is safe, said Ebizo with a small smile. Naruto stares at Lady Chio with a surprised look on his face. He's then caught by surprise as Matsuri and Yukata invades his personal space and gives him a 10,000-watt smile. He looks towards his girlfriend for help, but she just smirks at him. He silently voices out the word traitor. The two girls bow at the blonde shinobi. Thank you for saving Kazekage-sama, exclaimed Yukata with wide smile and tears running from her face. Just like the rest, she watched Gaara's fight and she was amazed at the fight but also scared for her leader until Naruto and Temari came. Naruto smiles warmly at the young teen. Even her brunette friend cried along with Yukata, but he couldn't really make out what the other two were saying. It's okay, there's no need to cry, everyone's safe, said Naruto. The two girls then hug Naruto. He stares uncomfortably still as the two girls bawl their eyes out. Naruto looks towards Gaara, who just stares at him with a small smile. Kankuro snickers at Naruto, but he stood. His snickering stops when Temari punches him on the shoulder. Kankuro grumbled underneath his breath and rubs his shoulder in pain. Temari walks towards them and pulls the two girls away. Temari and Naruto smiles at each other. She runs her hand over his whiskered face, causing to purr in response and nozzle against her cheek. She then grabs hold him in place and smashed her lips against his own. They could hear various of feminine squeals of excitement. Both Sakura and Ino blush in embarrassment at the sight of affection. The pinknet didn't think she could do that. She still hasn't brought Kankuro home to meet her parents, so kissing the puppet master in front of everyone she knew was out of the question. She glances at her sensei and notices the man has one of his eye smiles on his masked face. Her best friend Ino was giggling besides her. She knew her friend was huge fan of gossip, and the two blondes making out in front of the whole Sunagaker was a huge scoop. The young platinum blonde was happy for Naruto, aware of how lonely and attention-starved she was. She and Ino felt horrible how they each treated Naruto. Gaara and Kankuro were smiling at their sister while the two felt uncomfortable at having to see their sister attempt to the life out of Naruto. They were still happy for their sister. Temari's into the kids, causing Kankuro to look away with an embarrassed look on his face while Gaara just stares stoically, but he also felt awkward seeing such an act. He couldn't sworn he heard Kakashi muttering about the new inspiration for Ika Ika series. The young Kazekage was also wondering if it was possible for him to meet someone just like how Naruto and Temari met each other. Unknown to our favorite sand user Bin stared at Matsuri, who has hearts in her eyes as she stares at Gaara, admiring how handsome he is. Temari and Naruto pulls away from each other as that's part from each other. A trail of saliva can be seen. Temari leaves into him, resting her head against his chest. Naruto rubs Temari on the back. She smiles at the warm feeling from his body. You better visit me, Naruto-kun, said Temari as she takes a step back. She runs her hand over his whiskered cheek. Naruto closes his eyes and leans into her hand and smiles warmly, not one of his infamous idiotic grin but an actual smile filled with content at the physical touch. He opens his eyes, cerulean blue, staring into real. Of course, Temari-chan, all you have to do is throw that kunai and I'll be here in a flash, said Naruto, making Temari blush at his words. Kakashi smiles at this. The scene before him reminded him of something he would see often with his sensei and Kushina. Even the words reminded him of the words Minato once gave Kushina after he finished mastering the Hiroshin no Jutsu. The man gains a small eye. Small. Ah, look at that, my cute student has his first girlfriend. You really the most unpredictable ninja, joked Kakashi. Naruto pulls away from Temari and glares at his sensei. Damn it. Kakashi-sensei, you ruined our moment, exclaimed an embarrassed Naruto. Temari was also glaring at the man. He then feels a hand on his shoulder. He turns his head and sees Gaara smiling at him. Naruto smiles back at Gaara. The two shake hands. Everyone cheers for Naruto and Gaara. The blonde glances at the people and wonders, will the people of his own village act like this? Thank you, Naruto. It was good to see, even though circumstances were less than desirable, said Gaara. Well, he'd rather have his reunion with his best friend and elder sister to much peaceful, but he is glad to see the two of them. I knew you'd return even stronger, but this wasn't expected. It seems like you keep surprising me and everyone else, said Gaara. He learned firsthand not to underestimate. Naruto gives Gaara a smirk, who just smiles back at the confident grin. It helps to keep you on your toes. Though how about next time I visit it be more pleasant and we can even spar? Asked Naruto. He was happy everyone was okay. It was also a good sign no dead, and at least Tsunade has Deidara in custody. Gaara smiles warmly at the thought of having his best friend here again and testing each other, and obviously without trying to kill each other. The two Jinchuriki ignores the loud female screams going from the female population. Temari rolls her eyes at the scene and but smirks at his popular her little brother has become. Naruto, if you ever want to drop by, just know Tsunade will always be open to you, my friend, said Gaara. Naruto grins at the redhead. The two shake hands, both promising to be there for each other. Time skip. Konohagakure, Hokage office. Can we trust it? What if it is a trap? With Orochimaru as bait, Akatsuki could be lying in wait for you at the Tenchi Bridge, questioned Tsunade. Looking at the two youths, she was also worried that the Akatsuki would take revenge on Naruto for stopping Deidara from kidnapping Gaara. While Sakura looks at Tsunade with nervous look, her teammate stares Tsunade down with a brave face. If it is a trap, we'll handle it. Ero Sennin has taught me how to handle the Akatsuki and Orochimaru. After all, wasn't that the purpose of my training trip, to prepare myself for the Akatsuki and Orochimaru? Questioned Naruto. The only Akatsuki members he saw himself struggling with would be Itachi and Kisame. Tsunade lets out a sigh and looks at her young ninjas with a solemn look on her face. You say you'll handle it, but you're still one man down and Ino can't join your team since she's already part Team Asuma. I guess I'll have to form a new team, especially with the chance there being a trap waiting for you, said Tsunade. Even with Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi, they'll still be against two powerful S-rank shinobi, or worst case scenario Orochimaru and Akatsuki team up to get rid of Naruto. Tsunade-sama, exclaimed a worried Shizune. What? Asked Tsunade with a raised eyebrow, looking at her worried apprentice. In that case, you should send a different team to investigate. Even if we send Sakura and Kakashi like you said, you must leave Naruto-kun out, pleaded Shizune, looking at the young boy with worried. Sure, he came back and was successful in mission, but she still saw the boy as a little brother. Tsunade looked away with a faraway look. Sakura, in the other hand, looked nervous, unsure what to say. As for the blonde, he's just looked at the ravenet woman with a stoic face. He understood her worry, but he knew he was capable of this. Shizune. Sakura and Ino is, like you, one of the few shinobi I can trust, and I am definitely sending Sakura's team, Team Kakashi, on this mission, said Tsunade. Then wouldn't it be the same if my team went? Questioned Shizune. It's not the same. Both Sakura are desperately chasing after someone who is going down a dark path, their old teammate, Sasuke. They strongly believe more than anyone in rescuing Sasuke. Those strong feelings will bring the mission to succeed. You and Sakura are different, explained Tsunade. Plus, both felt guilty at their inability to bring back Sasuke. Tsunade glances over at Naruto. What do you think, Naruto? Asked Tsunade. I think you already have an idea of someone who you want to join Team Kakashi, says Naruto. He then turns and smiles at the worried Shizune. He then pats her on the head, causing her to look at the blonde, who grins widely at her. It'll be alright, Kakashi-sensei will be with us. Plus, Ero Sennin might be an hopeless pervert, but he's a good teacher, said Naruto with a grin, hoping to wipe away some of the worry she has for him. The boy entrusted with Shodai-sama's necklace. Naruto-kun could really be no ordinary boy, thought Shizune, thinking about the first time she and Tsunade had met the loudmouth blonde. I will find members to fill in the gaps left by Sasuke, but I will also bring in an extra member to help Kakashi, said Tsunade. Both Naruto and Sakura nod their heads in understanding. Well, if there's nothing else, there's something I need to do, said Naruto, not giving any of the women to speak. The blonde vanished in Shunshin. Tsunade, I would like to speak to you. Come, says Kaharu. Tsunade stares at the elder woman with suspension and mistrust. The woman may have been her sensei's teammate, but her, along with Homura and Danzo, those three had always tried to undermine her sensei, and anyone who sides with the old war hawk was someone you can't and shouldn't trust. With Naruto, the blonde makes his way to Konoha's cemetery. As he arrives, he sees someone here. Kakashi sets flowers down, and I interrupting. Asked Naruto. He was aware of Kakashi losing many people during the Third War. He was honestly surprised his sensei never have into his hatred like Orochimaru and Sasuke. He watches as his sensei shook his head negatively. No, I'm done just catching up. Would you like to sit with me? Asked Kakashi in his usual cool tone. The blonde doesn't say anything. He just sits down next to his sensei. He stares down at the slab of stone, sees the names of his parents along with the names of Rin Noharu. Was she your teammate? Asked Naruto in curiosity. The man have her a small nod of the head. Yeah, she was. You know, my team was a lot like yours, said Kakashi. The blonde blinks in surprise. Really? Exclaimed Naruto, hoping the man might tell him since he was very secretive about his past. The man mentally chuckles at Naruto's face. Yes, back then I was the prodigy of my class while my teammate was like you, a dead last, said Kakashi. The blonde grumbles about stupid academy, causing Kakashi to laugh. His name was Obito Uchiha, said Kakashi. Naruto stares at his sensei in shock. And Uchiha, who was a dead last? That was something he wasn't expecting. Yano, he was the one that said those who abandoned the mission are scum, but those who abandoned their friends are worse than scum. It was also his dream to become the Hokage. He was a good person, always trying his best and looking out for others, said Kakashi. By the tone of his voice, it was clear that the past really weighed heavy on him. Kakashi-sensei, that Sharingan you have, its Obito's isn't? Questioned Naruto. He honestly couldn't see any other Uchiha would give away their precious eye, but his teammate Obito seems different from any other Uchiha. The blonde watches as Kakashi nods his head and places his hand over his forehead protector, covering his Sharingan. Yes, it was his dying wish that I have it and used it for good. Naruto, I'm not sure if it means anything, but sorry, says Kakashi, watching the blonde's face morph into confusion. Sorry. Sorry for what, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. The man turns to look at Naruto with a serious face. I'm sorry for not being a good sensei to and Sakura. The truth is I focused a lot on Sasuke because I saw myself in him and I wanted to save Sasuke from himself. But every day with you guys was like a constant reminder of my team. I shouldn't have favor one student over the others, especially since you are my sensei's son. I wanted to honor the memory of Obito, but I just caused a rift in the team. Says Kakashi. The man honestly felt bad for sidelining Naruto and Sakura, especially when both Naruto and Sakura needed the extra help. Kakashi-sensei, it's alright, you don't need to apologize. You were probably ordered by the old man, or it was the old man's advisors, but it is true you should have trained Sakura and myself, but you shouldn't blame yourself for Sasuke's betrayal. I'm sure you did everything to change him just like Sakura and myself tried, but Sasuke made his decision. No one forced out of the village, he left willingly. You were able to not get consumed by your own hatred and darkness while Sasuke embraced it. Tell me something, Kakashi-sensei, what will you do if we run into him on our next mission? Asked Naruto. Kakashi's eye widened at the blonde, clearly understanding the tone of his voice. His soul eye narrowed in suspension. Naruto, are you asking me will I kill Sasuke? Questioned Kakashi, never taking eyes off his student. Yes. You know there's a chance he'll refuse to come back. What then? After all, he is a traitor of the village. He did join one of Konoha's worst criminals, who's responsible for who knows how people Orochimaru killed while still a shinobi in the village, who also killed the old man, and Sasuke was willing to go to the snake all because he's power hungry. Said Naruto. He knew the chances of Sasuke willingly going back to Konoha was luckily to happen. The older man released a heavy sigh. I'd rather not have to kill Sasuke Nexus, my student, but if he chooses not to come back willing, then I will. But I'm hoping I will have to use lethal force as a last result, but in reality the chances of Sasuke coming back to village on his own accord is very unlikely. What about you, Naruto? What will you do? Asked Kakashi. Over the 3 years of thought about what will I do if I run into Sasuke, knowing Sasuke, I'm sure if he somehow did beat Itachi, he still wouldn't come back to the village. After all, after Itachi is dead, what's left for Sasuke? He cut himself off from anyone. I will give him one chance to return, but if he refuses, I'll do what I must. Said Naruto. He can still remember the cold look Sasuke gave him after he shoved a Chidori through his chest. He took him a while, but he realized if Sasuke truly did see him as a friend, then he wouldn't even try to kill him. And another abandoned the village. As far as he's concerned, Sasuke was never his friend. People like Shikamaru and Gaara were his actual friends. Naruto then vanished in a shunshin, leaving Kakashi to his own thoughts. As he shunshin through rooftop to rooftop, he jumps down to the quiet streets and remember what Sasuke told him about the next step in evolution of the Sharingan. You must kill your best friend, thought Naruto. He then rolled his eyes from what Jiraiya told him. The Mangekyo is a far superior version of the Sharingan. Naruto jumps down from a building, causing several people to jump in surprise, but they quickly resume their normal day lives. The blonde then thinks about the first time he witnessed the Mangekyo Sharingan, Amaterasu, black flames that burned so hot not even water, thought Naruto, remembering when Jiraiya sealed away the black flames. Naruto, is that? Exclaimed Choji. Naruto turns around and sees Shikamaru and Choji. Shikamaru looks the same and just as lazy as always. As for Choji, he worked out quite a bit, losing a lot of the fat. Just when I was enjoying the quiet, commented Shikamaru with a lazy smile on his face. Naruto gives Shikamaru a half smirk. Still as lazy as ever, huh? Joked Naruto. His eyes then glances down at Shikamaru's vest. Let me guess, Junin? Asked Naruto. Shikamaru's response was just to sigh and mumbled about troublesome blondes. Yeah, it's a drag, but it keeps Ino and my mom off back. Choji, here is a Chunin like most of our friends. The only ones who aren't are you, myself, and Neji. Said Shikamaru. It didn't surprise Naruto. Shikamaru was a Junin. He was definitely smart enough and skill enough to be a Junin. Choji stares at Naruto with confusion. Wait. You're a Junin, Naruto? Exclaimed the fairly large teen. Last time he remembered Naruto was a genin before he left, but he did remember hearing from Ino that Tsunade had given missions to Jiraiya and Naruto to gain experience. Ba-chan promoted me after Sakura and I defeated Kakashi-sensei in the Bell test, plus it also helped we did several missions and had completed our mission in Sunagakur. But I'm actually a special Junin. It won't be long till I'm an official Junin. Grinned Naruto with a proud grin. Yeah, still as troublesome as ever. So, what are you doing? Just wandering around? Questioned Shikamaru. The blonde seemed less hyperactive and loud. He seemed more composed and doesn't seem to wear his emotions on sleeve anymore, but he knew the blonde teen was more troublesome than he used to be. Tsunade is putting together a team for our next mission, so I'm just killing time till she sends the Anbu to come get me. What about you guys? Asked Naruto with curiosity. He figured Shikamaru must be busy. After all, he is a Junin. With that title comes with a lot of responsibility that he would rather ignore and just watch the clouds. I have to sort out the entrance for the Chunin exams. It's a drag though, said Shikamaru. He glances over at his overweight comrade. Ino and I have a mission with Asuma sensei, said Choji. Unknown to the three of them, they are being watched by someone. Naruto chuckles at seeing Choji stuff his face with chips. They might have grown over the last 3 years, but Choji still love eating as before. Naruto then narrowed his eyes along with the other two. Him and Shikamaru quickly ed down to the ground as a ink tiger charges at them. Choji enlarged his arm and punches the ink creation of splattered in a burst of ink. Another tries to attack them from above, but Choji quickly grabs hold of it and crushes it. Over there! Exclaims Shikamaru. He used his Nara clan technique to point at the direction of the attacker. The three of them glares at the pale-looking teen. Naruto glares at the mysterious new person with suspension and caution. I've never seen him before, but he's wearing a Konoha headband. Says the blonde. His hand slowly moves to his sword. That came from nowhere. I've no idea what he's doing, but that guy needs to be captured. Said Shikamaru. The blonde teen nods his head in agreement, and handed over to the interrogation squad. I'll cover you. Go, Naruto, yells Shikamaru. Right, got it, exclaimed Naruto, charging towards the teen. Super beast imitating drawing, Choju Giga, exclaimed the teen. Several of ink creations are summoned out of the scroll. Naruto quickly runs wind release through his blade. Naruto, get down. Shadow sewing technique, Kage Nui no Jutsu. Says Shikamaru, piercing through each ink creation with shadow tendrils, destroying each in the process. Naruto quickly clashed with the pale man. Who are you? Demanded Naruto, sneering at the man. You're fairly weak, so, what do you have between your legs? Mocked the teen. But for the blonde, the smile he saw looked fake, holding no real emotion whatsoever. The young teen then feels a blade pressed against neck. He looks next to himself and sees another Naruto hoping a kunai to his throat. How did he? A shadow clone, thought the teen. Naruto and his clone glares the teen. Now, who the hell are you? Why did you attack us? Demanded Naruto, never removing his kunai. You're much smarter than you look, commented the teen. He then quickly dropped to do a one-hand stand hurricane kick. Both Narutos explode in a cloud of smoke, surprising the teen, who thought just one of them was a clone. Naruto then jumps out of smoke with kunai. The teen jumps back. Naruto narrows his eyes. He casts his kunai in wind chakra and throws it at the mysterious shinobi, cutting his cheek in the process. We'll meet again, Naruto-kun, said the shinobi. He then vanished in a shunshin, leaving behind a splatter of ink. What was that? Wondered Shikamaru. That person looked to be around their age, but he's never seen the person before. He was sure he would have remembered some pale-skinned guy, or at least someone who can make paintings real. Choji, I thought I'd find you here. For crying out loud. Asuma sensei's angry that you still haven't shown up, ranted Ino, looking at her overweight comrade with frustration and annoyance for keeping them waiting. Sorry, Ino, some weird guy just started attacking us, said Choji. Weird guy, repeated Ino. She looks around and notices Naruto. She gives Choji a questionable stare. Weird guy? Choji, that's Naruto, exclaimed Ino. Choji sighs and shake his head. No, I'm not talking about Naruto. There was some random guy who attacked us earlier, said Choji. Ino looked at him with surprise, but then she narrowed her eyes in suspension. Ino turns to Shikamaru, who nods his head in confirmation. Do you think it was a sound ninja? Asked Ino. It wouldn't surprise her. After all, Team Asuma had various of missions dealing with spies who were sound ninjas. After all, Kabuto and his team were spies, so what's to say there weren't any more spies in the village? I'm not sure it could be possible. Man, this is so troublesome, said Shikamaru. Flashback. Hokage office. Shizune looks at her master with a look of professionalism, since Team 7 will be dealing with the possible threat of it becoming an Akatsuki trap, another shinobi is needed and there is not much time before the mission. Says Shizune she knew how capable of a shinobi Kakashi is, but she didn't believe he or Team 7 will be capable of defending themselves against the possibility of dealing with 2S rank shinobi who are easily capable of fighting a cage. Well then, a second leader should be selected from the elite Anbu under the control of the Hokage. Said Danzo in silence. Tsunade knew she couldn't trust any ninja Danzo would suggest the man may be her sensei's teammate, but he was a snake, someone you couldn't trust. He may serve the villa, but everything he did was for himself. Indeed. That should be fine. Said Kaharu, believing this to be the right decision. Then again, Kaharu and Homura usually sided with Danzo even back in earlier days when Hiruzen took the role of Sandame. I'm sure you have no objections, Tsunade, said Homura. Flashback end. And that's his it is. You will be in second command when Kakashi is unable to take missions for any reason. You will take Kakashi's place, ordered Tsunade, looking at her Anbu captain. To be in second command and work alongside with Kakashi-senpai, that is indeed an honor, said the man who felt honored. This is not an Anbu mission, this is a regular mission. You will remove your mask, be assigned a codename for the duration, you will take on the name of Yamato, said Tsunade. She watches as the man removes his mask. I understand, says the now named Yamato. There's one more person. One of the members of the Anbu training department route has been assigned to Team Kakashi. And, trailed Tsunade. Yes, asked Yamato. Keep an eye on his movements, orders Tsunade. What do you mean? Asked Yamato. The new member is one that Danzo recommended. Danzo is a man who previously opposed Sandame, emphasizing the use of military power of diplomacy. He created a separate division in Anbu, the training division, route, with himself as leader. You must have heard of him. The group has been disbanded and he has lost his position, but he hasn't changed. He must have some ulterior motive, said Tsunade. Are you sure you are not overthinking this? Asked Yamato. Tsunade stares in silence before meeting his eyes. Anyway, go and introduce yourself to the team, ordered Tsunade. Okay, said Yamato. He quickly shunshin away. Time skip. Hiya, said the pale-skinned teen, giving Team 7 a fake smile. Naruto gains a scowl on his face. You, sneered Naruto, quickly pulling out his kunai. Sakura looked confused while Kakashi stares at the scene with an eye smile. Kakashi gestures his hand to Yamato, giving him an eye smile. This is Yamato. For now on he'll be part of Team Kakashi. He will be my second in command when I'm not here. He's in charge, says Kakashi. His fellow Junin smiles at them. Sakura turns to look at the annoyed blonde. She glances towards the root member. Her eyes land back on Naruto. Naruto, do you know this person? Asked Sakura, but from the look of it whatever happened between the two was anything but good. Sorry about before, I just wanted to gauge the ability of my new team member. I just didn't know how much I'd have to look after the little pro K with no balls, said the teen with a fake smile. Suddenly he's then taken by surprise as Naruto presses him against the wall with Naruto's arm pressed against his throat. Naruto then points his kunai and infused it with nature. Sakura places her hand on Naruto's shoulder. He's our teammate now. Calm down, exclaimed Sakura. I am calm, I just want to make a point. I don't trust you, whoever you are. But let me make this clear to you, if you do anything that might endanger my team in any fashion, I won't hesitate to bring you down. Exclaimed Naruto. He released his hold on the teen. The root member gasped for air. But you're not that nice, said Sakura. Even she felt unsettled by the guy's fake smile. It felt so false. Not only that, but just from the way he talked sounded emotionless. Even Sasuke had more emotions than this guy. Ahaha, really? I like people like you, friendly crones, said the root. You what? Exclaimed Sakura. Yamato and Kakashi hold her back from killing the teen. Kakashi mentally sighs, feeling like this root